Democrats. Today is Tuesday, February 15th, and it's time for the Chair's Daily Life. Happy Tuesday. So today is February 15th. February is a short month, and it's also Black History Month. I've not talked a lot about Black History Month because there's been so many other crazy things going on, and I didn't want to talk about crazy things while I was talking about honoring the contribution of African Americans to our history. So today I want to talk about A.C. Hamlin. He was the first Black legislator in the state of Oklahoma, and he served from 1908, directly after statehood, from 1908 to 1910. He was a Republican. And Republicans like to use that whole Republicans, the party of Lincoln, blah, 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 but they've abandoned that. And so I won't even go into that. But A.C. Hamlin was Black. He was a Republican, and he was from Logan County. Some of the bills that he was able to get support for were providing funding for Black schools in his area, in his district, addressing unequal facilities for railroad travel, and things like that. So even though he was in the minority, that's why I want to talk about it. Even though he was in the minority as being a Republican and as being African American, he was still able to get bills heard. My, how things have changed. He only served one term between 1908 and 1910 because a law was changed. A constitutional change was made. A constitutional amendment was made to the Oklahoma Constitution to limit Black voters, and this is the whole Jim Crow stuff. There was a law, and an Oklahoma specific law that limited how Black voters could register. Could they read? Was their grandfather a registered voter? I was just explaining to somebody a month ago where the grandfather clause came in, and I wonder if everybody knows that. We all talk about somebody was grandfathered in. I hate using that term because I know the history of that term, and it was used to keep African Americans from being able to register to vote. You had to either be able to read, or your grandfather had to be a registered voter in the county, or you couldn't register. Well, if Black folks couldn't register, then of course their grandfathers weren't registered. And so it kept a lot of folks from being able to register. That's why I don't like the term grandfathered in, because I know its root is in racism. But that was overturned a couple of years later, but not in time to keep A.C. Hamlin in office. Every year, that's right, Wayne. Every year, the Legislative Black Caucus, which are African American legislators in both the state House and Senate, the Legislative Black Caucus holds a fundraising gala in honor. It's the A.C. Hamlin banquet. They do that every year. I didn't know where they came up with the name until I did my research. So it's kind of interesting to think that in 1908, 1910, in our state, their voter suppression was a real thing. And you would think after 110, 115 years, we would move on to a different thing. Not so much. Our voting rights continue to be at risk, not just those of African Americans, but those who aren't in the majority. Our voting rights continue to be at risk. There's the everybody has to re-register in 2023. There's no real reason for it. I read the bill today, and it's election integrity, blah, blah, blah. I think they're implying that some folks registered illegally, and this is how we clear them. It's just another attempt to suppress the vote, and I don't care what they say. They're trying to eliminate no excuse absentee balloting. Right now, if I decide I want to register to vote by absentee, all I have to do is fill out the paperwork, because I am a registered voter. Fill out the form online, and my ballot will be sent to me. That is one of the positives that we have in our state. In Texas, the only way you can vote absentee is if you have a documented trip plan for business, or you're in the hospital, or something. It's very limited who can absentee ballot. Should we really be trying to go backwards? You guys know my answer. My answer is no. I want everybody to have access to the ballot box, be educated when they get there, and know that their vote will count. And this is just one more barrier to the ballot box. Representative Turner, who is a Democrat, has proposed a bill that we do automatic voters registration. A whole lot of other states do it. It shouldn't be that hard. She's proposed that. And then there's another Republican legislator who's proposed a bill that says every voters registration form must be signed in ink. Those are complete opposites, and I don't know what the reason for that is. If you are of legal age in the state of Oklahoma, if you're 18 years old, you're not a felon, you should be automatically registered to vote right then and there. But we have legislators who are proposing bills to make people re-register, register for specific elections. So like you're registered, but this specific election, you got to double register. What is the purpose of that? That is to reduce how many people know about what elections are coming up. Again, another barrier to the ballot box. Representative Fugate, who is a Democrat, has a bill up that says if you are unchallenged as a House rep or a state senator, we should be voting whether or not you get to retain your position. Just because no one runs against you doesn't necessarily mean you need to keep your job, but that's what happens in our state right now. Let's see. There were some interesting bills. Oh, the automatic forensic audit of our elections. Okay, so I'm going to say this. I say this every chance I get, and so here's a chance. The Secretary of the State Election Board, which is the top election board official in our state, the Secretary of the State Election Board is a Republican. Okay, get that out. The Oklahoma election process is in the top 5 of most secure election processes in the nation. We have a secure process as it is now. You have to show ID, everything's secretive. Nothing is computerized, so it can't be hacked. It's a paper balloting system where we can recreate an election by paper without having to hire somebody new. We're having to hire an outside company. We could recreate an election because it's a paper process that's been verified by both parties and the sheriff is involved. It is a big deal. We are in the top 5 in voter security in our state. Our legislators know that it gets a lot of people excited to say that we're not. And so to say that we need to recount the ballots, Secretary Zeriax has said on more than one occasion, more than 3 occasions that I am personally aware of, it's not necessary. There has been our regular audit. The process is safe. Our process is safe in this state. And I mentioned that he's a Republican because I want to make sure that I'm letting you know that this isn't a partisan thing. You guys know I am partisan chick. I am a Democrat to my core. And for me to say that this process run by a Republican is the most secure, I need you to understand that's what I'm saying. It is the most secure. And so this forensic audit and the automatic audit, there's one for automatic forensic audit. Then there's one for certain elections are just going to be checked. And then there's one for under certain conditions, there's a whole audit of the process. None of that is necessary in our state. And we don't need a bill. If there is a reasonable cause for suspicion of fraud, all you have to do is ask the election board and provide your reasonable suspicion, your reason, and we get the audit. We don't need some change to our Constitution, which is what they're proposing for audits. It's just more promulgation of the big lie, and that is what it is. It's a big lie. It's unnecessary. Our elections are secure. Our elections are secure. And so the fact that as I'm combing through, there are all these bills aimed at making our elections secure are, once again, Republicans looking for, coming up with solutions for problems we don't have, spending our money on problems we don't have. So I'm going to wind this all the way back as I think about how voter suppression shapes our state. I now know that it shaped our state all the way back to 1909, 1910, when A.C. Hamlin, the first African-American to serve in our legislature, was prohibited from serving again because they put up barriers to the ballot box for African Americans, predominantly in Guthrie, but you know it happened all over the state. We need to be better than that, Oklahoma. We need to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to vote. Everyone who is eligible has an opportunity to legally vote. I'm not advocating for any rules to be broken, any special concessions to be made. If you're 18 years old, you're not currently under a felony conviction, you are a citizen of the United States, you should be eligible to vote. Oh, there's one more that I need to mention because it's just so stupid. For some elections, they want you to have to bring your birth certificate to prove that you're eligible to vote. Your freaking birth certificate. Listen, make sure you get out there and you register everybody that you know. Make sure that they're registered to vote. Take some time, go out and request your absentee ballot online so that it gets shipped to your house and you don't have to keep up when the elections are. Make sure you participate every time there's an election, that you show up. And so we can minimize the ridiculous bills that are trying to keep people from voting to hit our record books. All righty, guys. Today is the 15th. We are 2 months from today till the filing period to run for office. That will be on the ballot in November. That's April 15th is the last day to file for. It's April 13th to 15th. It's to file for office. So if you're thinking about it, time is ticking. If you know somebody and you haven't talked to them, time is ticking. We need to make sure that we have as many candidates. We give Democrats as many opportunities to vote as possible. Thanks for joining me, and I'll be back here tomorrow at 4:15.